This brings us to our last of our lecture slide videos. There are other videos regarding the panel as we spoke of earlier, but this is our last in the series of lecture videos. And it's a final word about comprehensiveness before we ask you to do a very important journal entry. We talk about comprehensiveness as a comparison to what we call serial approaches. Serial approaches are approaches where a person is given a service and then another service after that one and another service after that one. And the problem is that these services almost never work effectively for people. Why? Because it's hit and miss whether or not we chose the correct underlying need for the first service. And almost always the person is actually less likely to be effective or effectively helped because their needs were actually multifaceted and therefore required a multifaceted approach. These approaches, because they often don't work, deter the user from finding help in the future. They have come to expect failure and disappointment, and often they become angry or they have felt as though they were blamed by the service provider in the past when they weren't successful. So people become conditioned to failure. They begin to actually expect to live a miserable life, one plagued by crisis, and they no longer seek help. Comprehensive approaches, on the other hand, assess the individual first and wrap around that person, providing a variety of different ways of addressing the person's needs. Back to that psychosocial idea that we spoke of. So, as we said, we assess and we address. And when we assess and when we address the person, we're going to mutually support that person by connecting with each other, avoiding redundancies, avoiding gaps, and making sure that we learn from the lessons of other people in that support team. We're going to report out on progress so that we can deal with any small fires, so to speak, that arise when an individual is having some kind of regression, and also celebrate successes and have the individual see their successes. It's important that we address all of the needs at once. We do not want to take a chicken and egg approach trying to determine what came first or what's underlying. It's difficult from a practical perspective sometimes to assemble all services at once, but it is something we should strive to do. And remember, we're talking both about professional services and informal but extremely valuable supports as well. Things like friendship and family connections, connections to cultural community, all of those sorts of things. It's often the little details that make a difference. And it can be very difficult for us as staff people sometimes to cope because we feel as though we are not making a dent in the lives of people. And I think a great deal about my ghost team members. And what I mean by ghost team members are people that I cannot see, but that I know are out there working with me to help an individual. They were there before I ever came, and many of them have worked and since moved on, and they will be there after I'm finished working with an individual, and they will not know of the work that I've done. They may not know about me, and they may be working alongside that individual right now. So you're not alone. And what we're looking to do here is not to be the only person who makes a difference, nor are we looking to be the person who corrects everything that's wrong in that individual's life. We're looking to be a progressive part. And we need to lose the idea that it's about the quantity of the time or the amount of money that we have to spend and resources we have to spend on an individual. It's often about something far more simple, a personal connection and an ability for us to reach out and connect with the person sincerely as a mentor. And so we want to speak a little bit about that as we wrap up this module. So in your journal, we're going to have you think a little bit about what you can contribute. And we want you to take a bit more than the normal amount of time to do these journal entries. This particular module has fewer journal entries and they're more concise because we knew that we were going to ask you to spend a good 10 to 15 minutes writing the equivalent of at least a page as you answered these questions. In your journal, describe a mentor or helper who made a difference in your life by reaching out or going beyond their job description. And I really want you to think about how that person actually connected with you. What was it about that person that made a difference? Was it that they spent a lot of money, a lot of time, that they were terribly sophisticated in their approaches, or was it simply about something more simple? Then consider what you can bring, both informally and professionally, to a community-based team or to supporting an individual on your own. Don't be limited by your professional role. Think about things that are also part of who you are. For example, what can you do as a volunteer? Or perhaps you're a business person, a sporting coach, a group leader of something like Scouts or Brownies. Maybe you're a member of a church congregation or simply a neighbor, just to name a few of the possible other ways that you might have a connection to an individual. Don't be limited by this. Do what you can to inspire yourselves and others with what you write in this particular journal entry, and I'll look forward to reading them. Don't forget to write the post-assessment, and don't forget to look at the video which it features our 3 First Nations panelists, because it was extremely moving and powerful, and I think it helps to inform what we've learned here today as well. And we look forward to seeing you in Module 6. Thanks very much once again.